Welcome to Southern Bella Home. I'm Sharon and I'm so glad that you came by to see me today. I want to share a very special story with you. The story begins in my garden, it travels into my kitchen, and then it takes a turn to the home of a precious relative. And you probably saw from the title that I'm going to be sharing with you how to make collard kraut. Collard kraut is not talked about these days. You don't hear much of it. You don't see anyone doing it. And I want to tell you why I decided to do it, introduce you to my mom, and let you hear some of her story and her history in regard to collard kraut, and it may inspire you to try to make it on your own. Now, if you would like to skip all of the chit-chat and the family history, you can check the show notes below and I will give you the timestamp of when I actually begin the process of making the collard kraut. But I think you will enjoy hearing the little tidbits of family history, and it may really make you want to do it for yourself. So let's get started. I have a very special guest with me today. And there's a special reason why I have this special guest with me today. Let me introduce you to my mother, and she is going to tell us a little bit about some of her family history. So my great-grandmother, Grandma Carrie
Edith
Henson, and she was originally a purser. And we learned from one of my cousins who did some family genealogy that we are actually related to Buford T. Pusser of Walking Tall notoriety, because the family used to be the Pussers and then it slowly over time became the Pursers, and that was my Grandma Carrie. And she helped to raise you, right, Mom?
That's right.
Well, after your mother passed away,
I was probably, when I came to her house, about 7 years old.
About 7 years old. And they were true homesteaders. They had chickens and they raised their own hogs and butchered hogs. Mom, did you witness the butchering of the hogs?
I did.
So she took part of that. Well, I did too when my daddy butchered hogs. So Mama was in on the butchering of the hogs, and they had the gardens, and off and on they milked their own dairy cow. So they got water from the well. It was a full-fledged southern homestead, and they lived in the small old farmhouse. And I can remember going to visit Grandma in that old farmhouse. Well, the reason that Mama is with me today is because this year was my first year growing a winter garden. And in the winter garden, I grew collards. Well, one day I was telling Mama just how pretty the collards were growing up, and she said, "Your daddy would be so proud of you growing those collards."
Sure, yes, he would.
We ate some collards, didn't we, Mama? And my daddy loved collards.
He did.
And Mama asked me, what did you ask me if I was going to make?
I asked you, I told you that for years I had asked people, remembering my grandmother making collard kraut, and I couldn't find anybody that had even heard of it much.
Right. So have y'all ever heard of collard sauerkraut? So Mama grew up eating sauerkraut made of collard greens, and
much better.
She says it's better than the one made with cabbage.
That's right.
And we love the cabbage kind. Now, Mama, tell us how y'all would eat it. When y'all sat down to eat some collard kraut, what was it like?
Well, it would really be like collards. It would be like collards.
Like cooked collards.
Yes, but it would be much better.
Much better and saltier, you said.
Yes.
And you said y'all served it with what?
Bacon.
Bacon? Bacon never hurts anything, right?
Sure, cornbread.
Now, would that have been like pan cornbread or fried cornbread?
It would probably be made in an iron skillet.
So many of us still make our cornbread in the iron skillet. So a big slab of cornbread, some sliced bacon, and some collard kraut. Now, Mama did say that they would heat theirs up. So You know, basically to me, I get the impression that it was just a food preservation method like we have today. You know, it was a way of putting up all that good produce that they grew.
I think so.
Preserving it, but it was a really tasty way to preserve it. I began to go and try to research it online, and I could not find a recipe anywhere. I could find people talking about it, but no one telling how to make it. I found an article about a town in North Carolina, which we do have people from North Carolina, and it talked about how they came together as a community and they brought all their collard greens together and they made big vats of collard green kraut, and they sell it today. And so I thought, you know, that is an old skill that I want to learn, especially since it's from our family heritage.
And since it's probiotic.
That's right. See, my mama is the original healthy. She has always eaten her yogurt and taken her acetamophilus and taken her vitamins. She is the healthy. So not only do I have the homestead heart from long generations of gardeners and all that, but Mama is the true healthy. How old are you now, Mama?
86 plus 2 months.
86, and she still takes care of her own house, takes care of her own bills, drives all over town, drives herself to church and prayer meeting, and she is living proof that eating healthy and taking good care of yourself goes a long way. So I wanted to honor Mama, and I wanted to honor my great-grandmama, my daddy who loved collard greens and first put the gardening bug in me. I wanted to learn this skill of making collard kraut. To begin this process, after harvesting my collard greens from the garden, I just came in, gave them several good washes to get any grit removed, and then I began to chop them into about 1-inch pieces. And actually, this is probably the most labor-intensive part of the whole job, but it wasn't bad at all. Just chop them into pieces. When I decided that I wanted to take on this task, I began to search online for recipes to make collard kraut. I couldn't find anywhere where it told me measurements, only vague generalities, basically just listing the ingredients. But no one told me exactly how to do it. So I had to formulate my own recipe, and I modeled it after sauerkraut using cabbage, but there's a very big difference. Collard greens do not have the water content that cabbage does. They're much more dry, and so I knew that I would have to compensate by creating a brine to create that oxygen-free environment so that the fermentation could take place. Because I was patterning this recipe after sauerkraut made with cabbage, I decided to use the traditional 3 tablespoons of salt per head of cabbage for my collard kraut. Now, what I did was just envision how much sauerkraut I would get from a head of cabbage and use that many collard greens. So I have a pretty large stainless steel bowl that I'm doing this in, and I'm adding my 3 tablespoons of salt. You can use your own choice of salt. I've seen every salt under the sun being used, and so I just used the salt that I had on hand. I'm just massaging the salt into the collard green leaves, trying to make sure that each and every leaf has salt making contact with it. After I stirred the collard greens around with the salt, I let them rest for a little while before I began the mashing process, just to let the salt sink in a little bit and start to work the extraction process on its own. That would help me out a little bit in the next step. After you've coated the leaves in salt and allowed them to rest for around 30 to 45 minutes, you begin the process of pounding. I just took this antique masher and I began to pound away at the leaves. Then I took my clean half-gallon mason jar, held it over my bowl to avoid making as much mess as possible. This is a little bit of a messy job, by the way. And then you just start packing the jar with your leaves. I would put handfuls of leaves into the jar and then mash them down so that I could get the maximum amount of collard greens in my jar as possible. This also helps to keep air at bay. We do not want air in with the collard greens. Now, after we get completely packed, we are going to be adding water to create that atmosphere of no air so that the fermentation process can start. But it just takes time. You just pack away and mash down. As I'm packing the jar, I can feel the salt on all of the leaves, and I'm very glad that I can feel that. It lets me know that I did a good job of distributing the salt and stirring it up so that salt is making contact with all of the collard greens. And there we go, all packed. I received these fermentation airlock lids for Christmas this year. I was so happy because I knew I would be making collard kraut and sauerkraut. They fit a wide mouth jar, and the purpose is to allow the air and gases to escape. That way I don't have to burp my jars. Also, I received these glass weights, and under the glass weights in each jar, I placed one large collard leaf that would hold down the other collard greens and keep the air away. This is how the greens look after 2.5 weeks. You can see how I had water up above the greens, and I will continue to let these ferment for at least another week, maybe even 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the level of sour. I will just keep tasting them from time to time. Now, I want you to know, if you're new to collard greens, they do have a sulfur-like aroma, just like all cruciferous vegetables. You know the smell when you cook cabbage or anything like that, Brussels sprouts or broccoli, they have that sulfur smell. So I do not want you to be alarmed by that. Collards are no different. Collards may be even stronger. Just like you know when you're cooking collard greens in your house, you're gonna know when you open up this jar. It does have that sulfur-like smell, but it tastes divine if you are a collard fan. Now that my fermentation process has finished, I will take my airlock fermentation lid out and I will put in a regular wide mouth flat and store this in the refrigerator. And according to my mom, it should keep for months. And what we plan to do is just eat it as a condiment with our other things. I can only imagine how this will taste topped with a little bit of pepper sauce vinegar besides some black-eyed peas or some pinto beans or something like that. Oh my goodness, my mouth is watering just thinking about it. And today I'm gonna get Mama to taste the collard kraut and see if I'm on target. She's the only one who knows what it's supposed to taste like.
It's been a long time.
All right, here is the collard kraut. Looks pretty.
Surely does.
Mama said it looks right and it smells right. And if you've eaten collard greens, you know there's a distinct smell that collard greens have. There's a distinct smell as to how collard greens make your house smell when you're cooking them. It just is. It's just a part of it. So we're going to take the little pickle top off. We decided just to do it right here where we were already set up.
Makes somebody want to come into the house.
And see, it just looks just like collard greens, like when you cook collard greens with ham hock or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Ready? Okay, go.
Tastes just right.
Does it taste just right? Yay! It just tastes like salty collard greens, even has almost like a little bit of a vinegar flavor, doesn't it?
Did you put vinegar in?
No vinegar. It's just water, salt, and collard greens. It's got that kind of pickly flavor, doesn't it?
Never thought I'd eat any more of these again.
Now, Mama told me that they chop theirs up pretty small. And me not being experienced, I didn't chop mine up that fine, but I'll probably go back and chop it up a little bit. Because, you know, they're not super tender. They have a little bit of chew on them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the taste is good, isn't it?
I wish Daddy could have tasted as good as he likes salt.
Now, my husband will probably want to put a little bit of pepper sauce on it.
Mm-hmm.
Vinegar pepper sauce. And I tell you, they're good cold, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't even have to heat these up. They are really
Mm-hmm.
good. So I'm tickled. I think we did it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now what was a lost art,
That's right.
it ain't lost no more.
Mm-hmm.
We have figured it out. We've done it.
And
You've had some collard kraut.
And I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, thank you. And I'll have to leave you a bowl.
Just what I was looking for.
So I'll leave her a jar, and then she'll eat on them all week, I'm sure.
And I'm very proud of my baby girl
Thank
making
you.
some kraut for me.
Thank you. I'm very
Just what-
proud to have been able to do it.
Good.
I'm
Good.
just thankful it turned out, since I didn't really have a recipe to go by.
And maybe the others behind you and me will enjoy.
Let's just start a collard kraut trend, y'all. Sauerkraut's everywhere, but nobody's making collard kraut. So let's make some collard kraut, because y'all, it's good. Anything to add, Mama?
I'm very glad to have had this occasion.
It's an honor to have you, Mama.
That's right.
So
It's
now y'all
a
know
big honor for
where I
me.
came from. Miss Merle.
Big honor for me. Every mother would want.
There you go. Every mother wants collard kraut, right?
Every mother wants a Susie homemaker.
I learned it from her. I hope you will give this a try. I hope you enjoyed hearing this little bit of my family history. I hope you enjoyed meeting my mom. And I really think that you ought to give it a try if you are a fan of collard greens, especially for you gardeners out there who are growing collards and want to try some creative ways of preservation of your food. Y'all have a wonderful day today, and if you're not a subscriber, I would love to invite you to become a part of my YouTube family. Hit the bell for notification and like, comment, and share, and come back to see me. And until we meet again, may the Lord bless and keep you. Keep home sweet, friends. Bye, y'all.